And we're back at 7:05. We got a long list of guests. Leading it off for us this morning at this particular hour is indeed Brian Sullivan. He's the president of the Nassau Correctional Officers Benevolent Association. Good to have him back. Sir, how are you?
Doing pretty good this morning. How are you, Jay?
I am doing well, although a little trepidation as I look at the calendar, Brian, 16 days out. As far as when changes will occur, I know both counties here on the island are going to be spending a lot of money. They're going to hire new staff, as we stated earlier. They're going to have to pay a lot of overtime and even put in some new software. And that to comply with some of these changes to the criminal justice system. But, you know, when you look at it objectively and everything else, it is somewhat frightening when you think about it, no?
It's extremely frightening what's going on in New York State. Just over the last couple of years, we've seen some turns away with the pendulum, away from public safety priority and away from crime victims' rights and taxpayers. I've been sounding the alarm a lot the last couple of years because of what I've been seeing in the arraignment courts, where they were letting people with heavy-duty charges, heavy-duty robbery charges and drug charges, they were letting them go at arraignment court with little to no bail or released on their own recognizance. That all took a serious turn this past April in the New York State budget, where sweeping changes were made to the New York State criminal justice system with no fanfare, no public hearings, no crime victims advocacy, aside what was going on. It was all pretty much hidden in the budget, where tectonic changes were made to the New York State budget, which does not provide for the safety of the public or victims' rights or victims' advocacy at all. It seems to be a criminal's bill of rights that was passed. Myself and several other law enforcement advocates have been trying to sound the alarm to say that what's going on here is a really, really dangerous thing, and we've been told that we're lying, this never happened, we're alarmists, we're fearmongers. But the Queens District Attorney's Office, actually James Quinn, one of the assistant district attorneys, published a list of New York's new bail laws where bail will not be provided for, and people that are arrested for certain types of crimes, many crimes, are just going to be released on their own recognizance with a desk appearance ticket. These crimes include almost every drug crime, drug sale, and drug possession crime in New York State, aside from being a major drug trafficker like El Chapo. Every other drug charge in New York State, you get released with a desk appearance ticket. If you get arrested for selling drugs or guns on school grounds, you're not going to be arrested. You're not going to be taken to jail. You're not going to be held on bail. You're going to be given a desk appearance ticket and released to come back to court at some further thing down the road, some further date. Some of the crimes, there's about 4 pages of these things, and I have it on my website and things like that. We're going to be talking about it with the Nassau County Legislature this morning. Criminal obstruction of breathing, criminally negligent homicide, vehicular manslaughter, aggravated manslaughter, manslaughter in the second. These are not things that victims advocates or crime advocates should be turning a blind eye to. This is not poor people being held on low bails. This is not a racial issue. This is not any other kind of a poor versus rich thing that's going on that some of these advocates will tell you about. These are very, very dangerous crimes that people are not going to be held in jail, held with bail anymore. And not only that, you have discovery laws that were changed in New York State, also hidden in the budget with no hearings, no public advocacy, that within 15 days of an arrest, all of the information regarding that crime has to be turned over to the perpetrator of this crime and his defense, which includes the victim's home address, their email address, their phone numbers, any witnesses, their addresses, emails, home addresses. You want to talk about the potential for witness intimidation and people not coming forward to report crimes. We've really, really taken a dangerous turn here, Jay, and I'm not exactly sure what can be done about this because it was all passed in the budget. We need to go back to Albany and expose this very, very dangerous thing that happened against the taxpayers of New York State. It all has to be exposed, and we're hoping to start that this morning with the Nassau County Legislature with a press conference that we're having in my office.
You know, and we're talking with Brian Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen, of the PBA Corrections Nassau. You know, Brian, I was reading the Post before I came on the air this morning. I mean, if this doesn't alarm you about this, there was a case cited about a week ago, I believe. The Bronx Freedom Fund, ladies and gentlemen, posted bail, $2,000, I might add, for a Louis Olivo. He's accused of abusing a 3-year-old boy, okay? So Olivo subsequently arrested again for allegedly groping an 8-year-old girl. Okay?
Right.
What will happen when there is no bail at all for suspects like Luis Olivo? I tell you, it is downright scary. So let's review a little bit here. So the state laws dealing with bail reform aimed at reducing the number of people held in jail. That's, pretty much the mindset originally. And the amount of time that they're held following, there are a lot of years of cases. People languish, Rikers Island, we know the deal, and elsewhere for years waiting for their day in court. So now you have a second set of laws involving changes, as Brian stated, discovery rules. That addresses a series of long-held concerns that law enforcement had an unfair advantage in prosecutions, is also slated to go into effect at the start of 2020. So it's really startling when you think about it here. But even discovery law is affected here.
Right, well, 100%. Discovery laws, which is just as important as the bail. They call them reforms, but I don't consider them reforms at all. These discovery laws that have changed are really going to be crippling to the criminal justice system in New York. I mean, just think you have there was a gentleman named Jay Painter. He was an assistant district attorney in Nassau County. He spoke on the record in front of the Nassau County legislature and gave a pretty horrifying example of these changes in discovery where, God forbid, you're a woman in Nassau County and you get violently raped in your home. Within 15 days of that crime, that alleged crime, all of your information, all of your personal information, your home address, your email address, your telephone number, your cell phone number, all of your contact information has to be turned over to the defense so they can quote unquote properly prepare a defense for that criminal. If you say right after this violent crime happens, you call your mother, hysterical crying on the phone that you were just violently raped, the defense can petition your phone records. And if they find that you called your mother, she is now a potential witness. Then the prosecution has to turn over her home address, her telephone number, her cell phone number, her email addresses, all so they could prepare a defense within 15 days of all of this occurring. They also have to allow that alleged criminal, access to the alleged crime scene, which could very well be your home, your bedroom, your living room. They have to be allowed access into your home so they can survey the scene and prepare a defense. This is all written in stone in new discovery laws. So within 2 weeks of you being violently raped by somebody in Nassau County, I know it's a bit of a harsh example, but it's 100% true, you have to allow them access to the crime scene, access to all your personal information. Just think of what this is going to do to the mindset of victims or the mindset of potential witnesses in these cases. Think of crimes that are involving gangs. We have a tremendous problem with MS-13 on Long Island. We have a tremendous opioid problem on Long Island. And these laws that were put in place, as I said, hidden in the New York State budget, so there was no public hearings about this. This is taking a hard turn against any type of proper law enforcement or assuring the quality of life in all of our counties, especially on Long Island, Nassau and Suffolk County. It's incredible to us, and we've been sounding the alarm for this, particularly since it went through in April in the budget. And people actually, the general public actually thinks that we're lying to them, that this didn't happen. And now that it's going to be coming to fruition in 2 weeks, I have people coming up to me every day saying, "Is this really true? I see this on the internet. I see things about bail reform. I see things about recovery. I mean, this isn't a joke, right? This isn't some political thing." I tell them, no, this is actually happening in New York State, and you had no ability to speak out against it because it was done in a budget process that allowed for no exposure of what exactly was going on here in New York State. And now people are just going to have to deal with it starting January 1st. It's incredible.
And think about this, as far as the drugs are concerned, it's eliminated, by the way, for all Class A drug felonies except for major drug trafficking. If this doesn't alarm you, I don't know what does. This particular number I'm going to lay out here. The Center for Court Innovation estimates, Brian Sullivan, that just 10% of the 205,000 criminal cases in the city in 2018 would be eligible for bail. Think about that.
Right. It's incredible.
Detention under the new law. If that doesn't alarm you, I don't know what
what possibly could.
It's interesting. I thought when this was all going down, and now we are 16 days out, I thought of the movie the purge.
The purge.
Because in essence, ladies and gentlemen, that is what is going to happen. You're getting these individuals back onto the street. You know what concerns me, Brian, is how you are going to get them back in the courts when their time is ready. I can't imagine the manpower, the dollars to be spent, both counties here, software upgrades and everything else, overtime, the right administrators in play. I mean, it's unbelievable what has to occur in the next 2.5 weeks.
Right now in Nassau County, there are over 100,000 open warrants for people that did not return to court. It's estimated that when these new bail reform laws go in and these people, you tell me if they're going to return to court. I can tell you probably the vast majority of these people facing heavy-duty drug charges are not going to be returning to court. It's estimated that the open warrants in Nassau County alone are going to jump to anywhere between 200 and 300,000 open warrants. These people are not returning to court. And look what they just did in New York City. Mayor de Blasio, they're offering incentives for people to come back to court, Mets tickets and gift cards and things like that. I mean, I don't know what is in these people's minds that they think this is a good idea and it's good for the safety of the public anywhere in New York State.
It doesn't make sense at all. Without question, it doesn't make sense. Again, prosecutors, if they want to introduce any evidence over crimes, they have to, you talk about speeding up the clock. They have to, this is another one that got me. They have to turn it over 15 days before a trial actually starts. Meanwhile, you have the defense, I believe it's 30 days, to turn over its case to the state. I mean,
Jay, if I could just correct you there once, it's not 15 days from the date of the trial. It's 15 days from the date of the alleged crime. They have to turn over every single. So if detectives or DA's offices are trying to compile a case against someone, they from within 15 days from the date of the alleged crime itself, they have to turn over every last bit of information to the defense, like I said, which includes all of this personal information from the victim and potential witnesses. Going forward, what witnesses are going to want to come forward when you're involving dangerous criminals, you're involving gangbangers and things like that. People aren't going to want their information put in the hands of these people, and they're not going to come forward. The witness intimidation level of this alone is going to be staggering.
Not only that, I mean, this law also allows defendants to visit crime scenes.
Correct.
To build their defense. I'm worried about altering those scenes. I mean, for that reason, the court can also order the crime scene, I guess, to remain unchanged. But, that's kind of a scary thought in itself. Who's to know if any alterations will take place regarding
Correct.
A very important element to any court hearing.
Just imagine being the father or the husband of a rape victim, and the alleged rapists themselves have to be allowed access within 15 days of that crime into your house so they could observe and put together their defense. Who's going to allow anybody into their home? That's never going to happen. They're not going to allow these people back into the home because of the trauma, the psychological trauma that's going on. And part of that end of the discovery law is that any non-cooperation that they see with it or people don't allow them back in is going to result in dropping the case. If these perpetrators aren't allowed access to all of this information, the very real problem is that these cases are going to fall by the wayside. They're not going to be prosecuted. And that's scarier than anything.
It is. And the thing that really comes into mind now is preparation. I haven't heard a lot from either county executive in both counties. And right now it's about being on the alert. The one thing I do not want to hear is, the crying wolf thing, okay? This is real.
No doubt.
When you have a number of just 10% of the 205,000, ladies and gentlemen. That's scary stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. There has to be plans in place. And I think, the transparency of it all right now has to be prio one, Brian Sullivan.
No doubt. The transparency of all of this has to be priority one, and that's the problem that's occurred with this since day one in April of this year. Like I said, when this was all put through, instead of in a legislative process where you had open hearings and there was the ability to have people questioned or to have public hearings and things like that to vet out exactly how something like this. If you want to make changes to the criminal justice system, there's always room for reforms. You want to say that certain people aren't able to afford bail, address that. That people have to be given proper bail so they can afford things like that, so people don't languish in jail. That's certainly something that can be addressed. What was done here, in my mind, and in the minds of many law enforcement professionals, this was a crime in and of itself because it was completely hidden in the budget process. No open transparency was done about it, and everybody's just been kind of standing around saying, what the hell's going to happen in January 1st when this goes into place? Because we really don't know. We're going to be allowing, across the state, you're going to be allowing hundreds of inmates in county and city jails just to be released on a myriad of charges January 1st, pending whenever their trials come into place. And if anybody thinks that that's good for society, I don't know where their mindset is.
300 in Nassau, inmates-wise, I think. 300 in Suffolk qualify. They would for release on the first of the year. It's under these new guidelines. And, think about this, folks. These individuals would either be released home, back to the community while awaiting trial, subject to monitoring and rearrest should they not show up to court dates. Good luck with that. I'll tell you, Brian.
Jay, that's another thing, too, is who's going to be monitoring ankle bracelets. They don't have enough staff in the probation department to monitor these people that are not going to be released on ankle bracelets. Only specific ones are going to be monitored. People are just going to be released. They're not going to be released into drug programs, which is what we have in jail. Many times court ordered, say you have a drug problem, you have an opioid problem. I can't tell you over the course of my 31-year career how many people's lives have been saved because they were put into jail on a pretrial basis and ordered into drug rehabilitation programs. Now none of that's going to be available. These people that are committing these crimes are going to be given a desk appearance ticket. They're going to be told, all right, come back to court in a month for your first hearing. They're not going to be put into programs. What do you think the first thing that person is going to do that just committed a crime while under the influence of heroin or something else? They're going to need to go out and get another fix, or they're going to go out and commit another crime. There's no advocacy, especially with the opioid crisis that's been going on, that's been raging on Long Island for the past several years. There's absolutely no attention being paid to what's going to happen to these people, and it's only going to get worse. They're either going to commit more crimes or they're going to overdose and die. And I don't know how they, for these crime advocates and different advocacy groups, I don't know how they think that that's good for anybody in the criminal justice system, taking programs away from them to try and help them.
All I could think of is the purge. The purge.
That's right.
Unbelievable. Brian, great information. We'll keep an eye on things. We await and can only hope. Brian Sullivan, president of the Nassau County Correctional Officers Benevolent Association. Good to have you back, and I'm sure we're going to talk soon.
Thank you for having me, Jay. Have a good day.